Hello and welcome to the latest episode of How to Draw Awesome Animals with your friends at Peppermint Narwhal. In this video series, we teach you how to draw animals in a fun and simple way while sharing animal facts as we go along. So let's go ahead and get started and take a look at the animal that we'll be drawing today. And today is Happy National Dolphin Day. So to celebrate, we've chosen the common bottlenose dolphin, probably the most iconic, recognizable, and familiar dolphin. So when we say the word dolphin, this is probably the one that pops into your head. Now, when we say the word dolphin, certainly we can mean one of over 30 species of dolphins. They come from a family of whales called Delphinidae, and dolphins are whales. And in this Delphinidae family, we'd have things like the common bottlenose dolphin. We'd also have the largest dolphin, the killer whale, all the way down to the smallest, the Hector dolphin. But again, we're using the common bottlenose dolphin today. We've listed its scientific name, Tursiops truncatus, there. And then below that, you see the status. It's least concerned for extinction right now on the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species. So as of the recording of this video, that's a great status, and we're very happy about that. All right, so we'll pull this out of the way, and we'll go ahead and get started. Pencil and paper are my tools of choice. You are free to use what you prefer and what you may have kind of conveniently lying around the house. I like these because, again, they're easy to find in the house. You also can kind of draw lightly at first, making sort of a nice sort of light gesture and then darkening it later as you go. But again, use what's convenient for you. I'm using pencil and paper. I'm also going to introduce you to a drawing technique that I like to call creating your own connect the dots. We've all done connect the dots before. They kind of have, you know, one point here, one point there, and we draw a line to connect them. Now, when I want to draw a curved line, I'm going to use 3 dots to indicate a curve, and that's how we're going to start off in this video. When we need a straight line, we'll just use 2. So if you've seen previous videos, you're more than familiar with this technique, but I'll again introduce it to you here. I'm just going to kind of curve these lines now together using this middle dot as sort of the change of direction of my arch, or the angle of my arch. And there we go. We've got a nice sort of curved shape here. Now, this is actually going to be a part of the dolphin's anatomy called the melon. And the melon is basically gets its name from things like watermelon or cantaloupe or anything like that. It's basically a part of the dolphin's head. You can think of it in relationship to our anatomy as the forehead, and that's sort of where this is on the dolphin. May not look like too much yet, but we'll start to bring it together by just making a little angle, diagonal line here, kind of bringing that in, and that's going to kind of complete this melon shape, at least in the sort of position that we have it in the drawing. And I'm going to put a little circle here, and this is going to be the eye. Dolphins can definitely see, just like us. They see pretty well. They have a small eye, though, because they won't rely totally on sight for getting around in the water, and we'll talk about that a little bit in a moment. But there's that sort of eye. I left a little bit of the center white to indicate a nice highlight for my dolphin. So using this melon here, like I said, they see with the sight, and in the water, sometimes when we prefer to go in the ocean, we like that crystal clear water. But sometimes the water can be murky, it can be dark, and you may not be able to see. So let's say there's a fish out here. I'll just indicate it with a simple icon of a fish. We're not really drawing a fish today, so we'll just use that for this illustration purpose of this concept. And they have a new sense that we don't, or they have a sense that we don't have, called echolocation. And that's a pretty cool sense. It's also found in something like bats. You've probably heard it there. Bats live in the dark caves. They fly out at night. They catch insects. All of this happens in the dark. They have eyes, and they just can see, but they don't necessarily going to be able to rely on that totally because of the so dark environment that they're in. So they use by sending out high-pitched sounds. Dolphin does the same thing. It sends out these high-pitched sounds. They bounce off of objects in the environment and come back. They're processed in the brain. And right now, the dolphin sending out sounds, it sees this little fish out, or bounces off of this fish, comes back. The dolphin realizes, oh, I know this species of fish. It's one I like to eat, so I'm going to swim ahead and catch that fish. So that's what echolocation would allow it to do. Now, of course, it needs a mouth here to catch that fish, so we're going to work on that mouth here in a second. We're going to essentially start by drawing something called the rostrum. This may not be a term that you're familiar with in dolphin anatomy, but it's the actual front part of the dolphin. So if you are a dolphin, you know the dolphin's anatomy, you've heard this term. If it's new to you, it's essentially what some people call the nose or beak of the dolphin. Again, it's not really a nose because it doesn't necessarily breathe through this area here. But we'll go ahead and draw a dot out here and use this original dot and just make a straight line. And that's going to indicate the top side of the rostrum. Now to curve this off, it's a little bit of a small area, so we won't really need 3 dots. It won't really fit here. But we're essentially just drawing a nice little curving, rounding that edge of that. and then sort of leaving the end open there. Okay, so now we're going to essentially draw a line that sort of like a smile that kind of brings this back from the end point here to nearly to the eye, and that's going to be basically best indicated. We'll put a point right there, and we'll just sort of draw that line, kind of connecting those 2 points together there. And I'm just going to add a little curve here, making this a very happy dolphin. We like happy animals on Peppermint Narwhal. So I got a nice little dimple smile there. All right, so that's the top part of the rostrum. To do the underside, we'll just sort of repeat a little curve under the underside here, and then put a little dot there. And then maybe we'll take that dot over to there and then just draw a line. So there we go. We've got the nice head of the dolphin. He's looking pretty good. That's definitely going to bring our dolphin into focus. But now we need to give him the body. To do that, we're going to make a big sort of sweeping movement here that's going to come off the back of this rostrum, back of the melon here, and kind of curve its way down. So I'll start with this as an origin point. We'll put maybe a point out here for the back arch, and then we'll put a point maybe over here for the end point. So now I'm going to kind of connect all those together. You can work whichever direction you want once you've got your 3 points. So I could start at the origin, middle, and then terminate, or I can start at the new end point that I had and work my way back to the origin point. Whatever you prefer. I'm going to go in reverse this time just to show you that either one will work. And do whatever one you like and feel comfortable with. But again, essentially, we're kind of making that nice curve there and getting the backside of our dolphin. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now we're going to put in the underside of the dolphin. We're going to make a point over here close to this one, and then we're going to just make a point up here, and actually we're going to leave this point at the end of the rostrum here, and we'll just connect these two real quick here just to get a little extension on that line. Now we'll use this line as the new origin point. So we got this point here. This is going to be the origin. This is the end point. We need something about here for the arch, and we're basically just going to kind of connect these two now. There we go. There we go. And there we go. We've got the underside of our dolphin coming together. Now we're going to put on something that's called the tail fluke. The tail fluke is how it propels itself forward in the water. So to do that, we've got this portion down here. We're just going to extend this line just a little bit more, kind of matching up almost with that one. And now I'm going to put a point here on this end point, or this outer line. I'm going to put a point out here for the curve. I'll put a point down here for the tip. Now we're just going to kind of make that kind of flow together there. There we go. And that's going to give us our dolphin start of the tail fluke. Now I'll put a little tip on this here just to indicate that tail tip. If you watch the narwhal drawing video, you'll see that we talked about this tail fluke in relationship to the narwhal, and also very specifically mentioned this dolphin and compared it to it. So if you want to check out that tutorial, you'll learn a little bit more about the tail fluke there. And it's also fun to draw a narwhal, but we'll continue to talk about the tail tip here by putting a dot here. And this time that's going to be the notch of the tail. And we're going to draw something called an S-curve. It's a little hard to show with points, but essentially we're doing one of these kind of movements where we just sort of go up and down, almost like a little roller coaster there. So we're going to start at this tail tip point, and we'll just make our S-curve just like that. See how I did that nice curving line there? And that's going to give us this one side of the tail fluke. Now for the other side of the tail fluke, I'm just going to extend this inner line down here a little bit. And you see that point that I had left over there? I'm going to use maybe that point there. I'm going to put a point out here for the curve, and then I'm going to put another point out here for the end of that. And I'm just going to kind of connect these nicely with the curved line. That's going to give me the other side of the tail. I'm going to put a little tip on that one. And again, another S-curve. This time we're going to kind of work it in this direction. So practice it over there, and now I'm going to seam that up to the notch. So there we go. We've got our tail fluke. As you can see, the tips are at the far ends here. This is called the trailing edge, and it meets in the notch. And that's how the dolphin propels itself forward in the water. It uses this large muscle group here. That's called the peduncle. We don't need to draw it because we've already got it there. But this muscle group will essentially paddle that up and down, and then that tail fluke really propels it forward in the water. Now it's going to go forward really nice and fast, but it's got to be able to steer. So it's going to use two fins that are towards the front of the head here called the pectoral fins. And those are on either side of the animal. We'll draw one here. We're going to put a point right about here on the bottom of the body there. We'll put a point out here and a point out here. We're going to do another curved line, so we'll curve these together nicely. There we go. And we'll put a little tip on that, just kind of round that off, get it a nice curving itself back. Now we're going to put a tip out here, or a dot out at the bottom of the body there. Put a dot here, and then a dot here. And this time we're just going to kind of flow these lines together there. There we go. And that's going to give us that nice pectoral fin. Now I'm just going to take both of these lines up just a tad into the body there. And then we can kind of erase out that middle area, because this fin would essentially be kind of coming right off that side of the body. Now I'll put another pectoral fin representing the one that's on the other side. We'll just do that by sort of making a dot out here, dot out here, dot out here, curved line just kind of coming off. Put a tip on there, and then we'll just kind of work our way back there with a nice sort of diagonal line there, kind of indicating it's the other side of the body. Now that's pretty good. Now we're going to go ahead and add the final fin on this animal, and that's the dorsal fin. And the dorsal fin is sort of a fin that helps kind of give the dolphin stability as it's swimming through the water. So if we were to look at the dorsal fin, I'll just draw it real quick over here. I'm going to draw this sort of picture this as the water's top line there, and the animal's dorsal fin is breaking the surface. So you don't need to draw this for yourself, but I'm just going to show you how it looks. So the dorsal fin is essentially a nice gradual sweeping curve, has a nice tip, and then almost like a moon shape that kind of comes in there. And that's the dolphin's fin there, the dolphin dorsal fin. Now if I was to compare that to, say, a great white shark, it would look much more different. Sharks is sort of very triangular sort of shape there. So there's our shark. And of course we know sharks are fish, and dolphin is a mammal just like us. So there's a definite look at the contrasting between the dorsal fins of a shark and dolphin. Now that's really just kind of looking at two different types of sharks, the great white and the dolphin here. Now, of course, all dolphins, there's all different types of, even in the Delphinidae family, many different dorsal fins. Same thing with sharks, but that just gives you a little bit of compare and contrast there. So now we're going to put that fin in here. It actually sets a little bit further beyond the middle of the back. So we'll put a dot maybe right about there, a dot maybe right about there, and a dot up here. Now it's going to give us this sort of curving shape of the dorsal fin there. Now we'll kind of put that little curve there, that little tip there of the dorsal fin. And this time we'll put a dot at the end of there, maybe a dot over here and a dot over here. And then we'll just kind of curve like that moon shape and curve it back. So there's a good looking dolphin. We've definitely completed our dolphin, nearly almost done. We'll add one more thing in here because we talked about it on the narwhal video, and that's counter shading. Okay, and counter shading is found in a lot of whales or cetaceans, like the dolphin or the narwhal. Narwhals are not dolphins, but they're also whales, just like the dolphin is a whale. So we'll go ahead and put that counter shading in by starting from this nice purse of the smile, this cheek here, and we'll just kind of draw a little line from there to this dorsal fin, pectoral fin, and then from the other backside of the pectoral fin, we'll draw this line. If you need to maybe do your dots, I'll just put a dot there, a dot maybe here, and a dot here. And then we'll just make that nice sort of sweeping curve. And again, counter shading would be lighter on the bottom, so this would all be light on the underside of the dolphin, and then the upper side would be darker, so that would be where if something is swimming below it, it would look up and see the light of the light side of the dolphin, but then it would also see the light coming in from the sun, and it would not really see the dolphin very well. Or if the predator was above and he was looking down to the bottom of the ocean floor, which gets much darker, that dark side of the dolphin would kind of blend in. The predator wouldn't see that too well. So there we go. We completed our dolphin drawing. I think if you've look at your dolphin drawing, you should be pretty pleased with the result. If you followed along, you found it's a lot easier to draw a dolphin than you thought. We'd love to see your dolphin drawings. If you could please share them with us by using the hashtag #MintySketch. We'd appreciate that. That way we can check it out and get to see your wonderful creation. Please give us a like on this video if you enjoyed it. You can subscribe to the channel for future videos. You can also send us messages online for future videos you'd like to see, or leave comments on this video. Thanks again, and we look forward to seeing you on an upcoming episode of How to Draw Awesome Animals with Peppermint Narwhal.